Welcome everyone to Myth and Makeup. Today we are going to discuss Athena. We're still trying to figure out setup here. It's a little janky, my setup, so it's fun, it's great, it's fine. Anyway, getting started, we're talking about Athena and we're going to start with her birth. So Athena was not born in the same way that most gods or demigods are. Originally, what happened is that Zeus was married to the Titan Metis, or the Titus Metis. He was married to her, and she had a vision that she would have two children, a daughter who would have Metis's wisdom, and a son who would have Zeus's strength, and that they would have the power, not that they necessarily would, but that they would have the power to overthrow him. And of course, Zeus doesn't like this idea. It's very much what he did to his own father. And so Zeus decided to swallow her whole. Not nice. Don't recommend. Also, swallowing a person whole sounds painful. And I don't think I would ever want to eat my spouse. So Zeus swallows her. And then he starts having these awful headaches. Serves him right, Cannibalism is a big no-no in my opinion. Though, technically speaking, I wonder, is it considered cannibalism when you're technically different creatures? Because there's Titan and God. Would a god be considered a cannibal if they ate a human, because they're not exactly the same? Anyway, he has these really bad headaches, serves him right? And he doesn't know what to do. So the god Hephaestus, I looked up how to say it so I could pronounce his name correctly. He takes an axe, and this is the god of blacksmithing and fire and things. He takes an axe and he splits Zeus's head open, which would unalive most people, but Zeus is a god, so it's fine, even if Hephaestus's axe was probably godly in power and all those fun things. He splits Zeus's head open, and this fully clad, fully grown goddess emerges from his head, and it was Athena, which is interesting because she has the combination of Metis's wisdom and Zeus's power, and in fact, it's said in some cases that she inherited his power, which would potentially make her as powerful as Zeus. So the two children of this prophecy was merged into a single figure, and had Athena developed the urge to overthrow Daddy Zeus? No, that doesn't work. She potentially could have, but she never did. Just wasn't her prerogative, which is fine. But she swiftly became known as the goddess of wisdom, embodying intellect, strategy, and foresight. She favored heroes who used these things instead of just, brute strength, as kind of like a dual thing, which is really interesting. I like Athena a lot because in many cases, and especially when you're playing a TTRPG like Dungeons and Dragons, you have your skill set, and when you're a fighter / barbarian, something like that, your dump stat is intellect and often wisdom. You are not combining that with the rest of your stats. You are focusing on strength, dexterity, and constitution. And that is to make you a powerful fighter. But I really love the idea of Athena breaking through the stereotypes, not only of gender roles, but also in what is constituted as the idea of a warrior. She was well-rounded. She was also not only the goddess of war and strategy, but seen as a patron of the arts and other intellectual things. So she's really interesting because she, unlike other gods, is a very well-rounded individual where she's not just focused on this like one thing, but is focused on body, mind, and spirit, which is really cool. I love that about her. And when I was a kid, you remember, you're a teenager, you like to take the quizzes where you're like, what Greek god am I? And originally I would get Artemis because when I was taking those quizzes, it was after Lord of the Rings came out, I became really into elves and nature and things. And so my answers were very biased towards those sorts of answers. And I still resonate with that a lot. And so I would get Artemis. But as I grew and matured and focused more on answering what my core personality was, I would get Athena. So Artemis and Athena have very special places in my heart. I feel like I'm a combination of those two, which is why in D&D my class would be Ancient's Oath Paladin, because it's kind of a mix of a druid and paladin combo. Anyway, so I really love Athena. She is a very interesting figure. And she was also, ironically, Zeus's favorite child. At least that's what is communicated through a lot of mythology, is that Zeus favored Athena. Now, appearance-wise, she's typically depicted as a tall and strong goddess. I do not have the muscles. That's my bicep. I do work out, but I haven't been able to do any lifting because of my living situation with my husband and my car situation. So my muscle mass has decreased by a little bit. I will not be depicting the strength that she is portrayed to have. And I'm also not very tall, but she can't really tall. I'm average height, but it doesn't matter. I'm sitting down. She's often wearing armor, a helmet. She's described as having gray or blue eyes, and her hair is usually depicted as being dark or auburn, often tied back. Athena is known for her serious and dignified demeanor, embodying wisdom, courage, and strategic warfare. She's often portrayed with a shield and spear. She is often also wearing the Aegis, a protective cloak adorned with the head of the Gorgon Medusa, who we will also talk about. Getting into some of the stories about Athena, she has smaller stories throughout Greek mythology to communicate her different qualities and what she represents. So in our first story, it's about Athens and how Athena and Poseidon, god of the sea, were both vying for the patronage of the same city. And to kind of get their attention, their favor, these people, the worshippers, they decided to have a little contest and see who could provide the best gift. And Poseidon, bless his heart, he decided to strike the earth and create a seawater spring, which, like I said, bless his heart, is not very useful. Salt water. If it were fresh water, that would have been great. I'm sure that the people would have absolutely loved to have a freshwater spring nearby. That would have been awesome. But it was seawater. And so they kind of just waited around for Athena to see what she was going to do. And in Athena's wisdom, she provided them with an olive tree, which symbolizes peace, posterity, and civilization, and is, of course, extremely useful because the oil is valuable in many ways. In fact, olive oil, if you're Italian or Greek, you are you appreciate the olive oil. They went for her gift. They preferred it, which makes sense. And I don't know if that, I mean, it seems like that kind of created a little bit of a beef between Poseidon and Athena, even though she won fair and square. And Poseidon's gift was impractical. Cool, but impractical. So she wins, and he has a little chip on his shoulder about that. Whether this story occurs before or after the Medusa story, I don't actually know. It would make a lot of sense if it did take place afterwards, or if it took place before the Medusa story. Anyway, so another story that is widely circulated is the story about Athena and her competition with Arachne. Now, Arachne had boasted that she was the best weaver, even compared to Athena. And Athena was like, okay, sure, let's find out. And in her fairness and wisdom, she participates in a competition with Arachne in which they both, whoops, I'm losing brushes, loomed a tapestry. Now, Arachne, she may or may not have won had she not been so proud and had decided to offend the gods. Now, what Arachne actually weaved, I don't know. Let's look up. Maybe we can find out. Okay, we lost the camera for a second because, like I said, I'm in a janky setup. But we found out more about Arachne. So Arachne, she had invented a lot of techniques for crafting delicate linen fabrics. She was able to create very lifelike, intricate weavings. And what she had decided to weave, and this changes my opinion on the contest a tiny bit, but also she wasn't thinking when she made the decision to weave what she weaved. So Arachne, with her talents, decided that she was going to weave a portrayal of the gods transforming themselves in order to trick mortals. She had specifically 18 examples of gods transforming themselves in order to trick mortals and take advantage of them, including stories of mortal women getting the gods forcing themselves on women. I'm trying to be careful about censorship here, but I think you know what I mean. But specifically Zeus and Poseidon. As much as we love Poseidon in the Percy Jackson series, Greek mythology, you know. This, of course, was highly offensive and unwise. And obviously Athena was going to be on the god's side because she herself is one. And also, she's kind of daddy's favorite. And so she decided that she would transform Arachne into a spider, teaching her humility and respect. If you're a not so powerful individual contesting with powerful beings and you decide to humiliate them or make fun of them or disrespect them, you're going to be on the losing side of that plan. So that's what happened. And you know, it could have been worse. I feel like a lot of the times Athena does these curses or punishments where it could have gone way bad. In the Trojan War or in battles in general, Athena, she is very active, but specifically during the Trojan War, she fought alongside heroes like Odysseus and Achilles. She offered counsel, strategy counsel, divine protection. Her wisdom and courage were instrumental in the Greeks' victory. That whole thing is extremely nuanced. There was some infighting going on with the Greek gods themselves. Do I have a fuzzy? Hold on, pause. I did. I had a fuzzy in my eye. That's so uncomfortable. They were favoring different people depending on like who they were getting along with and all that stuff. But when you're going to war against the goddess of war, even if you're another god, you're just not gonna probably come on top unless she potentially orchestrated your victory for whatever reason. Who knows? Okay, this is turning out cool. I don't know if you can really tell. And I kind of like the idea of imagining this war council, this table of all these men, warriors, and this goddess just telling them what to do. This woman warrior. It's really refreshing. And I don't know. I applaud the Greeks of that time making Athena who she was, because it was just so, and I mean, to be fair, in their culture, there were women fighters, as far as my understanding is. And we're going to probably do a more historical video going into like warriors, different cultures and warriors, and how women play a role in that sometimes, because there's evidence that women participated in warfare more often than history has actually, at least our knowledge of history has shown. It's been like hidden or something. So I want to delve into that a little bit. But regardless, our last story is the story of Medusa, which has two opposing thoughts, right? So Medusa was originally a beautiful maiden with long flowing hair, and she caught the attention of Poseidon. And here's the thing. She was a priestess, worshiper of Athena, and Medusa and Poseidon end up having a tryst in Athena's temple. Mind you, Athena has virgin worshippers, more or less. I mean, you're a worshiper, you're gonna be of different prescriptions there, but her priestesses were expected to be virgins, like her. Athena did not need no man in her life, which good for her, if that's what you want. You do you. I love my husband. I love having that man in my life. I spent a long time being that strong, independent woman, and when he came along, I finally got to be a princess, and he treats me like one, so it's great. But, so the first concept is that Athena, and this was the one that most of us grew up knowing, right? Athena was very upset with this tryst happening in her temple. It's very disrespectful, and we already know how she feels about being disrespected. So after she and Poseidon had their little night meeting thing, we all know what I'm getting at. They knew each other, as the Bible would say. She cursed Medusa. Now, there are two schools of thought here, and it would depend on, can you hear this? It would depend on how this story went down. So the first concept is that Medusa willingly had this affair with Poseidon, in which case she was being disrespectful and dishonoring not only her position as a priestess of Athena, but she was essentially desecrating a place of worship through her actions, which is a big no-no, of course. And in that situation, the belief is that Athena cursed her so that she would not be able to do this again, with Medusa becoming ugly with snakes for her hair, and whenever someone meets her eyes, they would turn to stone. The other version of this story, which I obviously prefer, is that, I preferred this concept in Athena's light versus Poseidon's light. So I would prefer it if Poseidon was like, hey, baby, let's go have some fun. And Medusa's like, okay, sure, you're hot, let's do it. But for what Athena did, I prefer the concept of her protecting Medusa. And that is that Poseidon, he sees Medusa, she's gorgeous, and he's like, I want to tap that. And so despite her trying to escape and refuse, he's Poseidon. He's not going to take no for an answer. So he forces himself on her. And then Athena comes. And this is where the story differs another way. There's two, I guess this would be a third school of thought. So originally there's the Medusa was into it, she gets punished. Another idea is that she wasn't into it. Athena blamed her instead of Poseidon and then punished Medusa. I don't like that. It doesn't fit the concept of Athena for me, with her being fair and wise. And so it doesn't make sense to me, and I'm going to throw it out the window. It didn't happen. What happened was instead that seeing her worshiper, someone who loved Athena, suffering because of this man who decided to hurt her, because if you're a virgin, it could hurt. And so she took pity on her. And instead of this being a curse, it was a blessing. Not a blessing in the concept of, well, a bunch of heroes wanted to go and slay Medusa because she's ugly and can turn people to stone. The concept is that Athena gave her this power and changed her looks so that she would never have to suffer in that way again. And I dig it. Because if that had happened to me, well, I might not have the power to kill a god or castrate him or whatever you believe should happen to an individual who forces themselves on another person, man or woman, because it happens to both and it's wrong either way. I would really dig the idea of being able to turn these men to stone with just a withering look. So that is those are kind of like three trickles of the story of Medusa. Unfortunately, she was seen as a monster, and so regardless of intention, she was hunted down by different, mostly demigods, the children of the gods. She was hunted down and killed in many different ways, so she must be able to come back, which there's that. Look at those cheekbones. So in the end, this could have been seen as a gift or a curse. In the case of it being a gift, it was giving her the ability to punish men who would do what Poseidon and Zeus often did to mortal women who did not want to be a part of their escapades. So throughout ancient Greece, Athena was revered as a protector of cities, a patron of craftsmen and warriors, and a symbol of wisdom and justice. And these different stories demonstrate or illustrate, either word works, we're fine, those qualities. And from her divine birth to her role in shaping myths and guiding heroes, Athena remains a powerful and revered figure in Greek mythology. In fact, she is still one of the most looked up goddesses of any pantheon that you are researching, along with Persephone, very popular figure for the purposes of storytelling. I really like the idea of someone coming up with something for an Athena figure. I don't know how you could, as someone who is really into romance and loves having a romantic story in what I am reading, regardless of how many books it takes for my characters to get together when I'm writing books, slow burns go over a series, not a single book. Anyway, so if you like slug burns, that's what I write. And I love using Athena as a kind of example of what is a well-rounded character, having several interests. And something that my writing professor in college said was that a well-rounded character is someone who has a quirk that doesn't quite fit with what you really know them for. In worshiping Athena, we've got some interesting things. So I didn't know this until I was doing research for Persephone, but there are actual people who are still worshiping Greek gods. So I was curious as to why someone would choose to worship Athena. I know why I would. She's really cool. Has a lot of similar ideals that I prescribe to. I've used that word a lot today, but here we are. So reasons why someone would worship Athena. Wisdom and knowledge. We've talked about how she is revered as the goddess of wisdom, intellect, and strategic warfare. She embodies qualities such as foresight, rational thinking, and practical skills, which are valued attributes in both ancient and modern cultures and societies. Her justice and fairness. I always think of the tipping the scale. She is what comes to mind when I think of that. Her justice and fairness. She's known for her sense of justice and fairness. She champions causes that uphold moral integrity and punishes arrogance and injustice, righting people's hubrises. She also is a protector and guardian, which is really super appealing if you think about her in the way that she helped the Greeks in the Trojan War, and also if you are perceiving Medusa as a victim who Athena helped. She is perceived as the guardian deity, particularly as a protector of cities, warriors, and craftsmen, which is really interesting. Craftsman, you would think that would be more of Hephaestus. Might have said his name wrong right there. It took me a minute to pronounce it correctly. Her presence is also often associated with safeguarding communities and guiding individuals through challenges. So very much Trojan War, helping Achilles, and then her involvement with other demigods whom she appreciated were not just meat-headed warriors, which meat-headed warriors have their place, and they're often interesting in their own way, especially if they're himbos, but they just weren't necessarily her cup of tea, which is fine. She is also the patron of arts and civilization, and as an artist, I really appreciate that about her because she's a warrior, she's intelligent, she probably likes a good book, and she appreciates the arts. So beyond warfare, Athena is a patron of arts and crafts. So get your kindergartner out and do some construction paper artwork for Athena. I'm sure she would think it's the cutest thing. I think it's the cutest thing. But beyond warfare, Athena is also a patron of the arts and crafts. She symbolizes the civilized aspect of human society, promoting cultural development, craftsmanship, and strategic planning. Lots of strategy in everything. There's strategy in everything. Okay, so feminine power. This is important because it's probably why most women actually really like her. So Athena represents a powerful feminine archetype in mythology, embodying strength, independence, and wisdom traditionally associated with masculinity, which, talking about gender norms, it is okay to be a masculine woman, and still like men. I consider myself a masculine feminine. I have a lot of masculine personality traits. But anyway, she embodies strength, independence, and wisdom traditionally associated with masculinity. Her existence challenges gender stereotypes and underscores the value of female empowerment. Now, with cultural influence throughout history, Athena has left a lasting impact on literature, art, philosophy, and even governance. Her image and symbol continue to inspire various aspects of human creativity and intellectual pursuit. I'm surprised I was able to say all of that. People admire Athena not only for her divine attributes, but also for the values she represents: wisdom, justice, protection, and cultural advancement, which resonate deeply across different cultures and eras, especially with the women of today who have so many varying interests and no longer want to just be seen as one thing and not be taken advantage of as the weaker sex. Because the truth is that women can be as powerful as men. So now in media, Athena, the goddess of wisdom, warfare, and crafts, has been a prominent figure in various forms of media, including literature, film, television, video games, and more. So here are some examples. In literature, Athena appears in numerous literary works, though I don't know of any where she is the main focus, the main character, but she is often a side character who appears in a lot of Greek retellings, often focusing on other characters more so than herself. Authors like Rick Riordan include Athena in their young adult fiction series, such as in the Percy Jackson and the Olympian series. She's Annabeth's mom, which is interesting because, okay, I'm gonna wrap myself out here, throw myself under the bush. I only read the first Percy Jackson book in college for a young adult fiction course because I'm a writer and I write young adult. Percy Jackson's too middle grade for me. So, and I hear they get better as they go, and my husband and my brothers really love it. Obviously, they are the target audience, but I also know a lot of girls who really like it too. The only thing I know about the Percy Jackson books concerning Athena is that she is mentioned, and there is a moment where she cannot help with them being in trouble because they offended the gods by sending Medusa's head to her. And I only remember that because my husband and I watched the Disney Plus series, and that was actually really good. Now, in film and television, Athena has been featured in several of these of this version of media, where television shows draw upon Greek mythology. In fact, there are even some that are direct retellings of like the Iliad, the Odyssey. There's Helen of Troy. I can't remember all of which Athena actually shows up in. So like in movies like Clash of the Titans, she is depicted as a powerful deity influencing the mortal world. And then in the TV series like Xena, Warrior Princess, love that. Haven't finished it, but I love it. I remember watching it in the 90s. Athena appears as a reoccurring character known for her wisdom and strategic thinking. In video games, which I don't know much about at all, but she appears frequently in games like God of War and Assassin's Creed Odyssey, where it's focused on the Greek era. They feature Athena prominently, where players interact with her as a part of their epic quest set in ancient Greece. Her attributes of wisdom and war strategy are typically emphasized in these portrayals, which makes a lot of sense concerning what those video games are about. Okay, so art and visual media, which is going to be what this is, also with our art piece that we're going to do. So Athena's iconic image, such as her helmet, shield, and owl, are frequently depicted in art and visual media. Paintings, sculptures, and digital art often portray her as a symbol of wisdom and civilization, contributing to her enduring popularity in artistic interpretations. Now, moving on to cultural, educational, and cultural media. So Athena is often referenced in educational programs, documentaries, and cultural exhibitions exploring ancient Greek mythology and history, because obviously she's a huge part of it. Her role as a patron of the arts and crafts, as well as her association with strategic warfare, is highlighted to educate audiences about classical civilization. And it will be really fun when we start delving into other cultures and seeing how parallels cross over and different, like, what's this culture's version of an Athena or Persephone or whatever. And sometimes other cultures just have one that doesn't exist in another one, which is really cool because you're like, oh, they thought about something that this group of people didn't, maybe because it wasn't necessarily relevant to them. And then we have music and performing arts, which is another huge one for me and my husband, especially as we are both theater people. So Athena's character has also influenced music and performing arts. Opera and theater productions sometimes feature Athena as a central or supporting character, showcasing her mythological attributes and significance in dramatic storytelling, which I need to go find. We're gonna go find them. So this doesn't answer my question, but New York apparently has an Athena Music Foundation. That's pretty cool. They do live performances to diverse audiences in New York and around the world. Call themselves Athenians. How cool. Okay, so I still haven't found any operas or theater productions that are featuring Athena as the main character. But I did find another story that I have never heard of. Unlike the other ones, I feel like those are more popular, but the capturing of Pegasus. So there was this Greek hero, Bellerophon, I think is how you say it. Bellerophon. It's a PH in some. Anyway, he accidentally offended the king of Lycia, and he would have killed him. But if you are familiar at all with ancient Greek culture, it was not considered appropriate or proper etiquette to kill your guests. So the king instead decided to send Bellerophon on a quest. He had told him to go slay a chimera. It'll be fun when we start doing myth creatures. But anyway, if you don't know, a chimera is a half ram, half dragon who breathes flame. And Bellerophon, making a good move, decided to pray to Athena, who was impressed by him and so decided to help him out. She gave him a dream and told him to go and capture a winged horse, the winged horse Pegasus. When Bellerophon awoke, sorry, I just drank some Coke and now I'm all burpy. He found a bridle had been placed beside him. So Athena gifted him this bridle. And so when he went to Pegasus and he put the bridle over his head, Pegasus bowed down and allowed Bellerophon to ride him. And together, the two killed the chimera. And by asking Athena for help, he became a hero with the help of Pegasus. And they had many adventures. Unfortunately, as it happens in many cases, his hubris took over. And unfortunately, like Icarus, I believe it is, he flew too high and he ended up falling off of Pegasus and crippling his legs, and he was a beggar for the rest of his life. Unfortunate. And it just goes to show that even if you have the favor of a god, it does not mean you are invincible. And it also, it's interesting because Athena's got the gift of foresight. So I wonder, did she just not look to see how this would go? Or maybe she just didn't care. I don't know. I could go on. There are more stories of Athena. If you want, you can look up the story of Perseus and Athena and Ares and Athena. These are two that, I kind of just want to tell you. I like these stories. Okay, so Perseus was known to be the son of Zeus. He was also the first king of Mycenae. I'm sorry if I'm butchering these names. I'm pronouncing them the way I remember them from Hollywood and college. I might be remembering them incorrectly. I'm doing my best. But he was responsible for beheading Medusa and thus birthing the flying horse Pegasus. Before he met Medusa, he met Athena and the god Hermes, who both gave Perseus gifts. Athena gave him a shield of polished gold, and Hermes gave him a pair of winged sandals. Flight seems to be a common theme for demigod heroes. Athena told him the shield could be used as a mirror and warned him to make sure he only looked at Medusa through the shield, never face to face, or else he would be turned to stone. When he met Medusa, he looked at her through the shield and cut off her head. And that becomes, and that's where the story of Medusa becomes interesting, because if she was trying to protect Medusa, why would she then go send a hero after her? I don't know, maybe Medusa got out of control. It happens. With Athena's help, he was able to kill Medusa, which led to him using her head to rescue Andromeda, which maybe that was the reason why, who was there's different ones. There's ones where she's being sacrificed, and then there's another where it was a marriage situation. But anyway, and then Athena attached the head to her shield, which is why you will see sometimes Athena has a shield with Medusa's head on it. I don't know. It could have been that someone came up with this story to say one thing, and then someone took it and was like, I'm going to change things a little bit to match this. It happens a lot in storytelling and in writing, especially when you are doing retellings. And sometimes that's great, and sometimes the original, like in movies, trying to do books, the book or a video game is successful because of what it is. Follow the blueprint, stop changing it and making it bad. Okay, Ares and Athena. This will be our last one. We'll wrap up. I'm going to spray my face with my setting spray and we'll be finished. So, during the Trojan War, Ares, who is the god of war, was on the side of the Trojans. He wasn't as smart as some of the other gods and goddesses, and while he supported the Trojans, like we mentioned before, Athena supported the Greeks. She was responsible for helping the Greek warrior Diomedes injuring Ares. Who knew you could injure a god? Ares was so mad, he went to Zeus to complain. Then, I think Ares the son of Zeus? Hold on. Yes, son of Zeus. He complained to dad and said it was unfair and just rude. So the fight between Ares and Athena continued, with Athena insulting Ares constantly because she was smart and he was dumb, and they were both gods of war, and she was just more well-rounded than him. But eventually Ares got so mad he threw an arrow at her and hit her breastplate, but it bounced off, which is interesting because I recently learned that, at least in medieval times, breastplates were made for more of a sword so that it would bounce off, and was not actually very good at protecting the individual wearing it from arrows piercing through. But she is a goddess. She's got godly armor on. It bounced off. And he also just threw it, which, I mean, he's a god, so maybe that would have been effective. And he is a god of war, so you would think that he would be proficient in arrow throwing. Darts? I don't know. Anyway, Athena was also responsible for helping the Greek hero Heracles. It's Heracles in Greek, Hercules in Rome, injure Ares in the thigh. So there's just this little tiff going on between these two siblings of war, which reminds me of my childhood with my brothers. So it shows that the gods were capable of fighting one another, and obviously they held grudges, and they would use the humans and demigods to fight instead of necessarily going at each other directly. Okay, I lied. There's one more. I don't know who Cadmus is. Let's read this real quick. So Cadmus was the son of Agenor. He and some of his friends found a cow with a moon-shaped marking on its head and decided to follow it. He wanted to sacrifice this animal to Athena, so they went and got some purified water from a spring, and then they killed a dragon who guarded the spring. This may or may not be a good thing. Cadmus killed the dragon by crushing its head with a rock, so he must have been really strong, and then sacrificed the cow to Athena. She came to visit him and told him he needed to pull the dragon's teeth out and plant each one in the ground. So, okay, killing the dragon was fine. This led to an entire army springing from the ground who wanted to fight Cadmus for killing the dragon that was special to Ares. Oh, that's funny. So maybe it wasn't a good thing that he killed the dragon. And it's funny that Athena told him to do it because the dragon was special to Ares. So even though the two of them were fighting, there must have been some kind of regard for one another if she did this so that the army could fight Cadmus, who killed Ares' favorite dragon. So all the men ended up killing one another. Ares was furious over the death of his dragon, so he took Cadmus to the divine court, where he was sentenced to be a slave to Ares for a year. That's it, a year. It shows that the continued rivalry between Athena and Ares, constantly at odds with one another, and would mess with each other at every chance they got. That's funny. I just really like hitting all my bases, and I think these Greek stories are fun. So, real quick, I'm going to spray my face. It turned out how I wanted. Okay, so what I am wearing are little leaf earrings to kind of symbolize the olive tree. I'm not trying to actually do cosplay. This is makeup inspired by the Greek gods. I am wearing a Dame's Grove shirt. I drew this. These are all just different helmets. This is kind of more of a Valkyrie inspired Viking, Celtic. I am wanting to do more helmet ones where it's different cultures. I think it'd be really cool. Maybe next time, in honor of this Athena one, we will do some Greek, Roman, that sort of thing. Spartan, that classic. This is Sparta. Anyway, if you are interested in these t-shirts, I have a couple more that I'm working on, a bunch of different ones. And obviously I'm going to be doing the art of the Greek gods that we are talking about, and what we'll continue doing throughout these series. I will provide a little sneak peek here of the Athena one. I hope you guys like this look. I hope you enjoyed going through the stories of Athena with me. I almost want to play with my eyebrows. I'm not going to. I'm done. This video is long enough. So thank you so much for sticking around. I hope you had fun. If you know of any other Athena stories that I did not hit or find when we were doing our research together here in this video, put it in the comments. I would love to hear more stories about Athena. And that is it. All right. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. Just, hang out, have fun. Just come and enjoy, hang out, and love you guys. Thanks. Bye.